Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and welcome to another StarCraft 2 England cast. Today guys, I have got a ladder game and it is a Heart of the Swarm game, and it is between sOul, the red Zerg player in the lower left position, and pasilidan, the blue Terran in the lower right. So it is a ZvT, I'm really looking forward to it. It's one of the new Heart of the Swarm maps, and I'm just going to give you a little quick rundown of this in case you haven't seen it or any of the beta games or anything like that. So first thing to note is unbuildable plates are now at the bottom of the main ramps. This is to prevent pylon blocking, etc., or anything nasty like that. The natural base, not too hard to defend. It's got a relatively large ramp, but all in all it's quite a long ground rush distance, so that's good news. Also, huge amounts of dead space around the main. I mean, this is absolutely massive. It means drops are super effective. Going to a third base, well, for the Terran, this is the obvious third because you've got a nice tight little area around here you can defend quite nicely. The third base for the Zerg, they usually take this one, although you do have the option of taking the close one. It just depends on how you want to play, but generally Zergs will expand away from their opponent and spread out a bit more. Then you've got a nice natural fourth base. The fifth and sixth are also good. You've also got this base down here covered by rocks, so this is quite a nice area to take, but again, really exposed by air to drop tech to anything like that. So we'll wait and see how it all goes down. Now, I'm not sure which version of the beta this was on actually, so in all honesty it may be the one where the medevac reactor upgrade is still on just a tech lab on starport, so we'll wait and see whether that does come into play rather than being on the fusion core. Overall, in the ZvT strategy, there's quite a lot of changes, to be honest, and I'm interested to see whether pasilidan will be using the Widow Mine much, because of course it's a very strong unit at all stages of the game, especially if the Zerg player doesn't use enough detection, because if you scatter Widow Mines across the map in really the obvious rush distance, they can do huge amounts of damage. Then you've also got the issue of they can come up behind the base and in mineral lines do a lot of damage there as well. So I'm interested to see how sOul deals with that. We'll wait and see, but yeah, it should set out to be a pretty awesome game, to be honest. Now, again, looking down here, we do have the barracks coming down, we've got the orbital command, so my money's on a one-rack command center. The early game strategies for Terran really are pretty similar. There's no gas as well, so that's the only thing missing. The only real change early game for Terran is, of course, the fact Reapers have insane health regeneration, but we don't really see it in this matchup, or at least I haven't seen it while I've been casting and watching some Heart of the Swarm games, and the reason you don't see the Reaper much in this matchup is purely due to the Queen being so effective at countering it. So that is the overall themes that I'm expecting to see. Meanwhile, sOul, he's got his hatchery on the way down, his spawning pool about to finish up. It's up to him whether he goes for some early aggression or not. Again, the one thing that is quite a strong strategy against Terran is, of course, swarm hosts. They are really quite good, especially against the conventional siege tanks and things like that, because the locusts can soak up a lot of fire. It can be really good. Infestors obviously do have the 10 range, but they are on a projectile now for fungal growth, so that can add some interesting dynamics into everything. So we'll wait and see whether sOul does feel the need for using that, or whether he's going to go into a Roach Hydra Swarm Host composition, which can be really strong if you mix Vipers in as well to abduct the tanks and pull them into range. But so far, pasilidan is just happily moving across the map with 3 Marines for the time being. This single SCV coming around, just getting a look around. We've got the 2 Zerglings just checking for the third base location. That's all fine. The command center nearly up and running, 2 gas up, so really conventional. 1 rack CC, 2 gas, following up now with a factory. Really standard play, and that's the one criticism I think some people have, is that early game things are really pretty similar at the moment, at least in this matchup. There's nothing too scary going on, but all in all, Terran does have its criticisms as well, just due to the fact that it's missing the Warhound. I mean, the Warhound did allow some interesting things to go on. The Hellbat is a bit confused at the moment and doesn't really serve a purpose for a lot of higher level players, so really that just leaves the medevac upgrade and Widow Mines. And Widow Mines are very strong, but they're quite situational. They have to be in the right position at the right time to work. So yeah, we'll wait and see how this all goes. Meanwhile, it's quite an early lair timing out for sOul at the moment, who does have these 2 gas down, and this is suggesting that he's going to go for some aggression, because he should be completely aware that this base is down. He hasn't actually scouted anything yet, so this is the slight problem, but you can assume that there's going to be that command center there. And as a result, if you're getting these early 4 gas, you're really committing yourself to 2 base muta, which, if it is after the patch, is going to be very, very strong, because obviously the 1 health regeneration up from, I think it was 0.33 before, so mutas regenerate very, very quickly, can be very strong harassment, especially on a map with so much dead space around the main. We do have the starport as well here, and the tech lab on its way, the 3rd command center coming down very, very early, a very defensive bunker here, walled off incredibly well, guards the ramp, but leaves the natural exposed, so that's one way to deal with pressure that could be coming in. Meanwhile, creeps are spreading, of course. Another change here, you can build creep tumors on a ramp. That is pretty huge. And sorry if you get any lag or anything, it's an actual fault with the Heart of the Swarm basically engine at the moment, and the replays, lots of people are getting it. Now we do have this spire on its way down, so that is all looking good. The 3rd command center nearly finished up, the spire there, and here we do have coming down the reactor upgrade for medevacs. So this is before it got changed to the point where it was on the fusion core. Basically what this does now is it improves the healing rate of medevacs by a factor of 2, which basically makes them heal at an extortionately quick rate. We've also got Widow Mines on the way out, so I'm super excited to see how this is all going to go down, because pasilidan really focused on using these new units and coming up with cool new strategies, which I think is the exciting thing about the beta stages and early stages of the game. Even though it's an expansion, there's a lot of new units and a lot of new strategies available, and some big sweeping balance changes coming out all the time, and this actual medevac upgrade is one of the things that got changed in the recent patch to put it up to fusion core, purely because it's so strong. So I'm interested to see how sOul deals with that. Creep spread, of course, going down with a lovely new animation for creep tumors moving. I think that's beautiful. The Widow Mine still just running around, creeping around. We've got one sitting here, the watchtower. That's good. It doesn't actually hold the watchtower while it's buried, but it does give you the ability to deny it, which is equally important in my opinion. Now, the hatchery 3rd on its way, the spire up. Now we've got 8 mutas coming down, and yeah, injects going down pretty damn nicely. There's stim on its way. We've got a lot more production facilities, so many more barracks, as well as this factory coming down with a reactor on it. So yeah, we've got the transition out of the Widow Mines now. We've got a couple of Hellions here, a few defensive Widow Mines, and also the missile turret. Of course, this will pick up burrowed units. It'll also help deal with air, and the Widow Mines themselves are very strong with dealing with air, purely based on the fact that they splash air units, which is brilliant. And as we can see here, the Widow Mine may actually get a shot off now, and it does manage to do so, and straight away it destroys one Mutalisk and deals good damage to the others with some great splash. So this is straight away showing how effective Widow Mines can be in countering a lot of Zerg strategies. So luckily the Mutas weren't clumped up, but it does give a bit of an alert to what's coming in. The Marines already there. Stim not quite finished up though, so that means these mutas are going to be fairly strong against this entire composition. We've got the double engineering bay there, the +1 infantry weapons is nearly done. +1 infantry armor hasn't started yet, but the armory is coming down. I can't speak at the moment, which is not a good start to the cast, but yeah. So for our 3rd base coming down for sOul, we do of course have the mutas still harassing as best they can. Stim is about to finish up, and when that does finish up, it's going to really allow a lot of interesting strategies. The first medevacs coming out now as well, with the 2x healing, so they are going to be very, very potent indeed, especially with Stim and dealing with these mutas. It could be great fun to watch. The Widow Mine still just chilling down there, the Widow Mine in the middle, and also the defensive Widow Mine. So these mutas do have to be careful. Hopefully sOul has remembered that it is there, and therefore won't splash it again. But we're going to see a splash come down here. Another great hit off. A single Mutalisk for free, basically, which is always going to be absolutely fantastic. But there's the Overseer getting some good scouting information, the top watchtower getting held. Looking at the worker count now, we're at 73 to 46, so sOul in a good point. Another Widow Mine hit goes off, and again, these Widow Mines picking off, this one has picked off 2 mutas, so in itself, it's really done good, because that effectively pays for itself twice over, because they only cost, I believe it's 75, oh my god, I've got to check this, yes, 75-25, and it's taken out 200 of resources. Anyway, here comes down the Infestation Pit, the Roach One, and the Macro Hatch, so they're all together really nice. The Infestation Pit obviously opens up swarm hosts to you. The Viking there now is going to get taken down exceptionally hard. The Missile Turret does do some damage. This one is going to get picked off though. That's a shame, because it could have done so much, but there's another Widow Mine, yet again going to get a nice little hit off, a good little clump as well, and you can see how much damage these can potentially do very quickly. And yeah, here are the medevacs healing away very nicely, making sure everything is in tip-top shape. We've got the Baneling speed upgrade as well as Burrow coming down. We've got the 1-1 upgrades for melee for sOul there. We've got combat shield as well as the 2-1 upgrades for the infantry. So real infantry heavy focus, no tanks, which if you consider the Wings of Liberty metagame, when was the last time you saw a TVZ where the Terran didn't make tanks at the 13-minute mark? It's pretty unusual. We still haven't seen much drop tech. We've got this 5th base rather now getting taken as well. Looking here, the Mutalisks are clumping up really tightly together. There's a missile tide chilling, but one missile tide against that many Mutalisks could have a bit of a nasty time. As you can see, the heal rate is not changed, so still just sitting there very, very slowly healing up as opposed to the rapid speed they do now in the current state of the beta. So interesting in itself. Meanwhile, Hive coming down. We do have the fungal, not fungal growth, pathogen glands upgrade on its way. So again, infestors are going to be the unit of choice. sOul not choosing to opt for Swarm Host, which is an interesting decision. Usually you tend to see a lot of Zerg players keen to get Swarm Hosts out, but they are such a big commitment that many players are really avoiding them. But the problem with infestors is, as fungal growth is now a projectile, it can make it quite awkward. And if I'm correct, this is actually the patch where the speed of the projectile hasn't been increased, so it's still a 10 speed projectile rather than 15 speed, which made it very, very hard to hit, especially on the beta servers where things are a little bit laggy and it can be a little bit awkward to deal with. Now, looking here, 2-2 upgrades coming down, that's all fairly nice. We've got some more barracks in production somewhere, there we go, so they are just coming out nicely. The medevac's chilling, the Widow Mines still here in a defensive position, and I really like using just a handful of Widow Mines defensively. I think it's very, very strong indeed. Some Burrowed Banelings, oh my goodness. Please let the Burrowed Banelings do something cool. Look at them all. Look at these Burrowed Banelings. Look at them. Look at them chilling. Look at them chilling everywhere. Seriously. Burrowed Banelings, for anyone who frequently visits my channel, will know that they are one of my favourite... No, scrap that. They are my favourite thing to see in a game of StarCraft 2. Nothing makes me happier than Burrowed Banelings just because of how awesome they are. Widow Mines are like a reusable Burrowed Baneling, admittedly, but they're not quite as awesome in my opinion just because they don't blow up. But oh, the Banelings, oh, the Banelings, the Banelings, the Banelings, and the units go straight between the Banelings. That is unfortunate, but oh, there goes down some hits straight away. You should have unburrowed them first, that would have been more potent. Oh, the infestors are taking so much damage, that is not too good to see. But here comes the Zerglings, but pasilidan is in a good position. He's really, really looking strong right now. The 2-1 upgrades are done. Meanwhile though, we do have Ultras coming out, which is something that we really didn't see much in Wings of Liberty. But they're so potent now, as they do their full damage to every unit as opposed to just armoured, which means they're incredibly strong against Marines, especially if they get fungal growth. They just start om-nom-nomming their way through. Anyway, here come in the Banelings, massive sweeping Baneling movements coming in. The Zerglings are there as well, getting the complete surround, making sure that all of this gets cleaned up incredibly effectively there for sOul. And as you can see, he has lost a bit more, but he really, really cleaned that up nicely. 88 to 60 workers, so a good economy to really allow sOul to lose engagements in terms of their cost effectiveness, because he's got his 6th base up, his 5th base rather, and yeah, he's really where he wants to be. He's dealt with a big push. He's got his tier 3 coming down now. He's getting spine crawlers up ready. Adrenal glands is nearly finished as well. That makes everything very, very strong. The 2-2 upgrades are finished. There's no sign of +3 yet. This drop though, this could really hurt, because obviously with the medevac healing upgrade, drops became very, very potent. It's one of the reasons why that upgrade got moved to Fusion Core tech. And as you can see, this healing rate is absolutely bonkers. Just instantly healing up pretty much everything. But in come the Mutalisks. They're going to be able to clean up this drop very, very comfortably with the help of everything else. But in comes the medevac using its boost ability, trying to get into the main base, unfortunately with no units. So just going to get the scout off. Going to see, importantly though, that there is that Ultralisk cavern. Meanwhile though, we've got some movements up at the top here. We've got a handful of units getting surrounded very, very quickly. A quick pickup, some good Baneling hits go down. And a lot of those units were actually taken down very, very cost effectively. But another drop coming in. Pasilidan is really showing how effective he can be. But the Burrowed Banelings, oh, the hits can go off so badly. Use the Burrowed Banelings. Use the Burrowed Banelings, unburrow them, chase it down, and there we go. Straight away, it all gets hit with great reaction speeds there from the Terran, picking up a few of those units, saving them all from getting lost. Anyway, burrowed Zerglings are coming down. A lot of Banelings morphing in with the Ultras as well. This could be really potent, but of course the defensive Widow Mines are still there. And let's face it, those Widow Mines when they're doing absolutely huge damage, 160 damage and 40 splash damage, they are going to be able to deal with these poor squishy little Zerglings very, very well indeed. So in come a lot of these Banelings, and huge numbers of SCVs get taken down already. We've got more units trying to stream across the map. Ultras, for those of you who don't know, obviously 41 damage per hit now is really potent against some of the squishy units in game. But here's some Widow Mines doing massive damage, taking out huge numbers of those Banelings. Well, the Ultras, they're trying to get through at the moment. These Marines rapidly trying to stim backwards, but Ultras incredibly strong in the current state of the game, and it takes a lot of micro to get out of the way of them, and they're still just as resilient as they were before. Great Burrow comes down, a scan force to get rid of those Burrow Banelings, otherwise the retreat would have done huge damage. So sOul is really trying to utilise Burrow Banelings effectively. We do now have those Vipers coming out, and these Vipers are going to be oh so fun to watch with their abductability, but more importantly, Blinding Cloud. That reduces the range of any unit's core within it to melee range, which basically means Marines, Marauders, tanks become effectively useless, purely based on the fact that Ultras can get in range, and once Ultras are in range, infantry no longer have the huge advantage of basically winning. Now, obviously, as we can see here, Drop still going down, this medevac trying to be awkward. The Mutas are still on the field, they're chilling in the main base, they're not doing too much, and, well, if they come and pick off the medevac, everything should be fine. But sOul, he's really doing a good job. He's got a lot of hassle with all of these shots coming down. The average APM, 245 to 226, so good APM there for both players. They're really showing that a lot of top-notch players are moving over now. Obviously the drop coming down, so this is all looking good here as well. These spine crawlers are getting incredibly out-healed, which is one of the amazing things about this medevac healing upgrade, is it's just oh so strong. Meanwhile, the Ultra Cavern is taking damage. You don't want to lose the Ultralisk Cavern at this stage of the game. We do still have the Spine Crawler getting taken down. Look at that healing rate, it's absolutely bonkers. Meanwhile, that Ultra Cavern is going to survive, but literally by the skin of its teeth. Luckily, there was the pullback there by the Zerg player. Meanwhile, the Terran happily gathering up units. We do have a handful of Zerglings they're not burrowed, just sitting there above the 4th base, but it's a planetary fortress, so it'll happily be able to clear out some of this. Quite a few SCVs will probably die though. As we're seeing though, overall, the worker kill count is pretty similar. It's not too much to be worrying about at this stage of the game. Meanwhile, Drops still being geared up, and the purpose of that medevac healing upgrade was to make Drops a viable option in the later game. So now we're at the kind of past the 20-minute mark. I consider that late game, and we're really seeing that hopefully this is going to work. We have the Burrow Banelings still just sitting there, and the Burrow Banelings have been used effectively all throughout this game, which makes me super excited. I absolutely love them. And still the drops coming in, the medevac lagging behind a little bit. So many spine crawlers here, and of course the Banelings coming in. The Banelings get massive connections right there. But this is the scary thing, large numbers of Ultras. And of course these Ultras are just going to decimate this base. We have the mass use of that Blinding Cloud, and as you can see, that forces all the infantry straight away back. It acts as a great defensive arc, allowing sOul to pull back, but some units are chasing down now. But in come the Ultras yet again, and just look at the damage they can deal once they're in range, but unfortunately not managing to get it all, and the Burrow Banelings are there. This could be a huge hit, but unfortunately sOul not quite on the reaction time there to deal with that. Anyway, drops are coming down, but they're being dealt with effectively by the Zerg player at the moment, so it's all looking fine for the time being. Some Burrowed Zerglings just chilling there, all looking pretty much fine. Spore Crawlers on their way, 8 Corruptors, but I don't think we have a Great Aspire yet, so obviously without the Great Aspire, those Corruptors are purely anti-air. They're not going into Broodlord tech yet. Another drop on its way down, but with Mutas and Zerglings, this is all fine. And this map does lend itself to drop play just oh so heavily. It's one of those things where I don't think it would be it definitely wouldn't, in my opinion, be a competitive map, just due to the fact that there is so much dead space. It makes air so potent. The Great Aspire morphing though, spotted. That is very important in itself, because straight away now, Pasilidan knows precisely what the Zerg player is aiming to do. This extra expansion getting scouted out, we've got Marines still kept up here, so all of the timings are getting spotted at precisely the right moment, and I'm expecting to see the Terran get some more starports up, because ultimately, if you know your opponent is going Broodlord, you know you've got about 100 seconds from when you saw it go, a bit over for the actual morph time of the Broodlords, but you need to start getting those Vikings up, otherwise that could potentially run into a big problem. But a great little snipe off on the hatchery there, and that is a big problem, because that essentially leaves sOul with a 1 mining base for the moment. Here we see the Consume being used by the Vipers, allowing them to regenerate their mana, and yeah, energy, gosh, use the right term. It's a blue bar with lots of little units. Everyone just wants to call it mana. I know I do. Every time I say energy rather than mana, I'm like, no, gosh. Wrong game, this isn't Warcraft. Anyway, as we can see here, Marauder doing good damage, just one sole Marauder being like, I am going to kill all of the drones. It is my job, it's the one thing I need to do. The Mutas are like, no, you're going to die. You cannot attack all that. Anyway, Broodlords are morphing, Vipers are on the field, and bases are getting dropped like it's the end of the world. It's absolutely crazy, and all in all, Pasilidan, he's really being the aggressor here. And if we look at the amount of workers killed, he's killed 33, lost 26, but this is the real number that hurts. 10,000 more resources lost for the Zerg player compared to the Terran, and this could be an absolutely money snipe. In come the Infestors, which so far really haven't done too much. There goes down the fungal growth, but again, the fungals are getting pretty late, so again, it's something which you need to consider with the beta change, that the projectile can cause some issues, and that's one of them. The Zerg players are having to get closer with their Infestors to try and hit accurately in case there's micro away from them, and the argument for the projectile is just that it allows some micro, but with the 15 speed it's pretty difficult to dodge, having seen games from there. So we'll wait and see what the changes happen, and as they happen, but all in all, I think the Infestors are going to get a big rework, because there is difficult unit to balance for obvious reasons. Any unit that disables micro is a difficult unit to balance, and that's one of the problems that Blizzard face with it, in my opinion. And looking here, we do have yet another drop coming in, and that hatchery gets sniped off, which is just on the money, because the second you start sniping off hatcheries, you start forcing a Zerg player to run out of money, and once a Zerg player runs out of money, they are suddenly in a position where they can't remax, and that's really the strength of Zerg. And it's not only the money they're losing the production capability. Broodlords are here though, the Widow Mine getting revealed, and one thing you should always do when you're moving across with big air force is to make sure, without any shade of a doubt, that you have detection, because otherwise Widow Mines are going to ruin your party. They will absolutely ruin everything. If Broodlords clump up over Widow Mines, you can have some bad times very, very quickly indeed. Anyway, missile turrets and expansion down, that is all good, but look at this force coming over Pasilidan. That could be incredibly strong if it does come to snipe out these bases, and we could end up in a bit of a base race situation, because all in all, there's not much of a defense here, and sOul, he's going to have a tough time. He's got some more units in production, but as we can see, this base really quite guarded up. It's a long way away. Pasilidan has got an incredible amount of firepower at his disposal right now. So many Marines and Marauders. They are with the 3-3 upgrades. That's going to allow them to do absolutely masses. Ravens are in production, because that's how you deal with late game Zerg, really. If you're in Wings of Liberty, you get Ravens out. The Vipers are still just chilling there, ready to use their Blinding Cloud, which of course will mean, hopefully, that the Broodlords are a little bit more secure, but this is full-on base race right now. And as we can see, Pasilidan is clearing things out very, very nicely. The Medivacs, with that 2x healing upgrade, so strong, and really allowed this base race situation to be, well, this kind of situation where you don't have your main army there, for it to be nearly unstoppable, just due to the fact that low numbers of Zerglings and, well, Zerglings really just can't out-damage the healing, and as a result, this force for Pasilidan hasn't really dropped in numbers by much. Anyway, the rest of these units on their way across. We've got some buildings just floating around being rebuilt, and it looks like sOul choosing to pull back, trying to get into a more defensive position, but hatcheries are going down everywhere. We've got more units here as best they can, but these two extractors and these spore crawlers could be very, very important indeed, depending on how this base race goes. The spawning pool about to go down. 6 more ultras are in production though. The rest of these units have got to be micro carefully. If those banelings do connect, it could be very, very strong indeed, but they need not to connect on the Marauders, but rather on the majority of the Marines. Great running away. Great running away indeed, and as we can see, the infantry taking as much damage from those Marauders as possible, but still so much remaining. A pickup is always a viable option. The Broodlord's still trying to shell everything. A couple of corruptors there in case the buildings do choose to lift, but this, in terms of supply, puts sOul ahead, but the production for Pasilidan, the fact he still has 2 mining bases up, is very, very important to him. His production facilities, though, they are getting taken out exceptionally fast, and this is where the problem really comes. And we're now into the super epic late game, where both players are pretty much back to scratch. If we look at the worker count, 21-12, but this base is going to be absolutely critical. Pasilidan really needs to notice that he's got these here, because if he just runs in, if he had just run in before that base came down, he could have sniped off everything and potentially won the game straight away there. Anyway, these Medivacs are using their boost ability to get away very, very quickly. These Broodlords are taking quite a lot of damage, and with so many Vikings out, I'm surprised they're being allowed to get away, actually. and it's something that pasilidan really should have chased that up. I'm not quite sure where all of his attention's gone. He's trying to snipe off the Greater Squire, which is a good little hit there. It prevents any further Broodlords coming out and really delays the tech. Not that there was the money, well, there's a bit of money in the bank to be fair, but here are the Vikings picking off the remaining Broodlords ASAP, and now this is really into an interesting situation. If we look at the army supply tab, 71 to 58, 20 workers to 10 workers in favour of sOul. But if we look at the actual army composition, there's 5 Ultras and 3 Vipers, a handful of Mutas and Banelings, but that's pretty much it. Meanwhile though, we do have 6 Marauders and 15 Marines, so this could be a very, very interesting fight, and depending on how well the medevacs are used, it could really make all of the difference. The Vikings are out of position though, which is not good, because you need to snipe off everything and everything you can with all of the efficiency you can muster, but meanwhile these Ultras are going to come towards the Planetary Fortress, and I think that would be a bad engagement to take at the moment, because if that Planetary Fortress were to fall, you could be in some major problems. Not if, well, even if the Planetary Fortress falls, rather, if you lose units to it, you could be in some major problems. And of course, with a lot of mules ready to cool down, a lot of SCVs here, that repair would keep that for an awfully long time, and you have to make all of your units get their absolute maximum bang for the buck. So we'll wait and see if that is attacked. Meanwhile, these Ultras are coming back down. We've got some engagements trying to get hit by those Vikings there, but still, this infantry army is going to be in some trouble, because there's just so many Ultralisks, and the Ultras are going to be very, very strong when the Marauder count is only at 6, and of course these Ultras are 5-3, which means that they are going to last an awfully long time. Finally, I get to see the new Infested Terran graphic when I'm casting. It's so, so beautiful. And yeah, Vikings get cleared up very, very nicely. There's one mining base for sOul, who I don't actually think he has any tech in the slightest. He has no spawning pool, that's for sure. It's just on its way down. So yeah, he's completely back in the Dark Ages, and sOul just giving him the G, because I don't know if you saw this space or something, but with 2 Planetary Fortresses up, it just never was going to end well with just such a small force. So that was a really, really tightly fought game. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did like the video, leave a cool comment and subscribe. I was Madals, and I'll catch you tomorrow for yet another new cast, because they're out every day of the week, which is awesome. Anyway, bye for now.